something that's potentially very important and quite dangerous, and that is a tit for tat between India and Pakistan after the killing of something like 26 civilians, most of them tourists, in a well-known tourist resort in Kashmir earlier this week. Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India vowed payback. He's accused the Pakistani government of being behind it. They have denied it. But it just reminds you that this flashpoint, especially in Kashmir, is incredibly dangerous and volatile, and therefore we need to keep an eye on it. Let's speak to Professor Nitasha Kaul. She's a professor at the University of Westminster of Interdisciplinary Studies. She's of Kashmiri descent herself, and was denied entry to India last year, reportedly because of her criticism of the poor state of human rights in the region. Good morning, Nitasha.
Good morning.
It's good to speak to you. So can you just explain what exactly happened last week and what the responses have been on both sides so far?
Right. Thank you. So we've been here before in the situation between India and Pakistan, but the global scenario right now with the many fires of different conflicts going on in different places makes it especially dangerous. So what happened most recently is that as you mentioned, there were these people who were killed in this tourist spot. We do not know who. We did not get a lot of information at the start about who had carried out this massacre. Yeah. But as the information came out, it turned we found out that actually the killers had targeted the tourists by religion, and that all of the tourists who lost their lives were Hindus, and one Muslim person who died was a pony operator who tried to save the lives of Hindus. So this was clearly a targeted killing. That's the first thing to note. The second thing is that after that, there have been all of these questions about the lack of security in the region, because this is where it happened is not very close to the border. So this is, the border between India and Pakistan, the line of control. So this is a place which the government initially told the political opposition leaders in India that this place was not supposed to be open to the tourists, and therefore there was no security there. But now, as it turns out, this place has been open for years. So the fact that this is a region, one of the most militarized regions in the world, there is no reason why, when the government has been promoting it as a tourist destination, since tourism has been their political response to a problem rather than addressing it, they failed to provide security. And now when questions are being asked about the accountability of who's responsible, because we have had massacres like this every few years, but in this case it was these unarmed civilians who had, it is completely tragic that they have lost their lives. So then there is no accountability, and a journalist, in fact, yesterday was beaten up. 2 days ago, was beaten up by BJP workers for asking this question. At a press conference that, why was there no security? So that's one important thing to think about. The second thing is the way in which this is being used to inflame Hindu-Muslim issues and tensions.
By the Prime Minister of India?
He has said that he has vowed to chase the killers to the ends of the earth. But beyond that, he hasn't done much. He did not attend the all-party meet on, briefing the other parties. He came back from Saudi Arabia. He held his cabinet meeting, and then he went to campaign in another Indian state where elections are coming up in Bihar. So the kind of leadership that an insecure nation at this point needs is not, in my view, being provided by at that level. But the Hindu-Muslim issue is one that it's being made into a Hindu-Muslim issue against the backdrop of already there being a high level of Islamophobia and in India. So with the Hindu nationalists in power for a long time. So the problem with that is that this kind of rhetoric, which is very big on social media, it's very normalized. That is exactly what the terrorists would have hoped for. To inflame these tensions. And that's a really dangerous thing, because the Kashmiri Muslim students in India are now sometimes being targeted. We've heard of cases where they've been beaten up or thrown out of their accommodation, and Indian Muslims are being asked to, prove their patriotism and loyalty. So blaming all of a community for the actions of a terrorist group, which for the information that we have till now from the Indian government is that they belong to Lashkar-e-Toiba, which is one of the known militant groups in the region, is it goes against any sense of not just humanity but also common sense and strategy, because it's
these are terrorists who've done something absolutely dreadful.
Yes.
And Lashkar-e-Toiba, of course, has, reform when it comes to that. And then you've got an Indian government that is responding in the way that Indian governments have responded in the past. So this is, in a sense, we've got to slightly end it here, but in a sense, what you're dealing with here briefly is a prime example of where church and state, where religion and politics have they've not been separated. It's quite the opposite. They've fused in the most disastrous way.
Yes, exactly. Because the thing is that if you have political leaders who use religion in this way, then it becomes very hard to challenge them and ask them for accountability. And
on both sides.
On both sides, and this is why it's very important also to challenge those who say that there was nothing targeted about it. It was clearly a targeted killing, and there is a precedence in the past. There's examples in the past of Pakistan there has been cross-border and support from the other side.
Sure.
So, one should also not jump to this kind of conspiracist thinking that, it has nothing to do with militants, or that this is something to do with, it's a false flag, which is also equally nonsensical.
Right, of course.
We have evidence of any of it.
Indeed. But of course, it's fertile ground for anyone who has evil intentions to get involved and to stir things up. So I'm going to have to leave it there because we've run to the top of the hour. Professor Nitasha Kaul, thank you very much indeed. Kaul, thanks for coming on the program. In the next hour, we're going to discuss the